telling where we've been. And all I know is that if you can't find me, you may never want to find me again. 'Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Hey guys, how you doing? We're here on another Tuesday night here on the Barroom Podcast, episode 48. I can't believe we're almost at 50 now, but we're here for a special episode of the Barroom Podcast. As you can see here, our good buddy Chris Gore here joining us from Film Threat, here to talk about a little bit of G4, joining us for the first time here on the Barroom Podcast. How you doing today, Chris?
Doing well.
And it's, also,
Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I don't know. I'm on the Barroom Podcast, but today's a day I gotta take a day off from drinking.
Oh, is it one of those type of days?
Tuesday is classic recovery day.
At the barroom.
It happens.
Oh man, yeah, I had told somebody. I think we were having this conversation yesterday about how to drink the LA water and exactly what goes in LA water. I didn't drink it beforehand. It's basically like a Long Island iced tea, so I had a couple of those, and that was a pretty big mistake. So, yeah, we all have our bad days when it comes to drinking. Hopefully, not driving though, too, because we don't endorse that here on the Barroom Podcast.
Nope.
But also here tonight is our good buddy Cool Classic Cage. She has a somewhat successful YouTube channel. How you doing today, Cassie?
I'm good and just chilling, having a good day. Hope all is well. It's good to be here. It's nice to have Chris on the show. It's pretty damn dope, honestly, and just to meet and come across just interesting people, or at least people I find interesting, because I think most people just aren't interesting. So.
And then, of course, listening to us on his headphones right now, probably editing some articles for Bounty in the Comics right now. Editor extraordinaire Spencer Bercoli, how you doing?
I don't know. Am I going to get muted? It's been a while.
No,
I'm good.
Not this time.
No, I'm good. I'm glad I'm able to make it back for once in like a year, probably almost. I mean, it's almost been a year that the show's been out, but it's been quite some time since I've been here. So it's good to be back, and it's awesome to talk to you, Chris. And it's great to see you, Cass. And I don't even know if I'm looking the right way. Maybe this way.
Yeah. Keep in mind, he's been on the chat like every single week, but just never actually joins us on the show. But until
you need a mod. That's what I'm here for.
Yes.
To make sure Nukem can't talk.
Yeah, that too. Well, he hasn't even joined us yet. I'm pretty sure he'll be.
Are you taking it out on the viewers that whenever you're on the podcast, you get muted?
Well, a quick little shout out to our guys who are in the chat right now. Neil joining us once again, like every week. Doesn't have an intro for us here this week, thank God, because that's less stuff that I have to read. Dobafett here, the MPA lottery is fixed. Yeah, I have no idea who won tonight. I guess we'll figure that out here in a second. Cassie's going to be in the chat with you guys tonight. Alex vs. Evil is down with us. Orange Hat is also here in the chat. I think Johnson will be here a little bit later on too. And speaking of people who are joining us, Fashion Be Late, TW, how you doing today? Well, looks like he's still having some technical issues over there.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
Forgot I was even on camera.
I know. I love surprising people when they're not expecting it. So yeah, we asked Chris to join us here tonight because Chris, obviously you had a project that you've been working on for quite some time now, and finally got put together. It's the Attack the documentary. I wanted to talk about some of the things that are put on there, but before I get started with that, I talked about the story a couple of times. I'm glad that you're here now, so I can actually verify this story. We talked about this when we met in Vegas last year, but you remember when we did WonderCon in LA years ago? This had to have been like 2016. You were selected to host a panel about it was fan fiction, essentially, right? And you were gonna go over like good and bad like fan fiction, and that was actually one of like the few panels I was looking forward to. Well, lo and behold, I showed up there the day of, which is like a Saturday, and it turns out the whole thing got canceled. It was like, well, why did it get canceled? Apparently there were some people online that got very, very upset because they thought that you were going to go over their fan fiction to mock it or just mock fan fiction in general, but because you had already booked the time like months in advance, you guys still had to go out there and kill time for an hour, even though everything you guys had planned you weren't able to do back then. So kind of take us back to, you remember going through that whole thing with that panel and the whole mess that turned out to be?
Yeah, that was WonderCon, I think 2015, it might have been 2014.
Yeah,
that was an attempt by some people on the internet to try to cancel me. The strange thing is they don't realize I don't give a fuck. So you can come at me. I don't care. But I think what it really was that I had been doing this panel for years at conventions. So what we would do is we would take like goofy fanfic that we quote found on the internet. To be clear, we didn't find it on the internet. We wrote it. It was fake. So it was fake fanfic. In fact, I wrote one of the pieces of fanfic called Jurassic Pratt, and it's where all the characters that Chris Pratt has played in other movies like Star-Lord and in Jurassic World and in Parks and Rec, they're clones of them, and they get together and they have sex. So
that's just what's coming next. That's the MCU. That's Face.
Yeah, that's the MCU. It's I mean, most fanfic is just bizarre, weird, pornographic fantasies. The way that I wrote it was very innocent, so everything's implied. There's nothing graphic in it because it's got to be read in front of an audience. So this panel was huge. I mean, standing room only at places like Dragon Con and whatever. And we would bring this quote fake fanfic that we wrote, and we would bring up volunteers from the audience, and we would also bring in like some celebrity guests, and it was great. They would get together. Grant Imihara was actually on, who passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Really an amazing person, but he was on one of the panels at Dragon Con. And the thing is, it's ridiculous. You've never read this before. It's all over the top. It's all implied sex. There's no actual graphic sex. It's all like goofy. A lot of it is homoerotic most of the time. And it was just done as a goof, right? It's just like, hey, we're going to have fun. It's like, you know, so you get like improv comedians, friends of mine that are actors, other guests, and then you bring in a couple of people from the audience. There's a lot of parts, and you read it. It's fun. Well, the description of the panel leaked on, of all places, Tumblr, and which then said about a whole bunch of young women who my thought was none of them are actually going to the convention at all. So they're complaining. Of course
not.
Yeah, they're not actually going. And so they were attacking me. They were attacking WonderCon. How could you do this? It's like a typical social media cancellation takedown of me. I did the stupid thing and tried to reason with them like they were adults.
Yeah.
That was futile. And then
fair enough. I mean, to be fair, it was back in like 2015, 2016. This is before we all knew better. Like we were still trying to like rationalize. We were in that stage of the whole thing. Yeah.
I thought I was talking to genuine people, it's all fake outrage, like most stuff on social media, fake outrage, or people that are addicted. They get a dopamine rush out of getting angry about something.
Yeah.
I feel like that's sort of corrosive to social media. Anyways, I had a conversation with the people from WonderCon. I've been doing panels at WonderCon and San Diego Comic-Con like since the early 90s. Okay. Yeah. So I've been around a while. They know me. It's like they know it's going to be like a, you know, not necessarily family friendly, but probably a hard PG-13. Okay. I mean, Adrian Curry was on the panel. My friend Yoshi Obayashi, who's a Korean comedian. Just a lot, like a good mix of like fun people. John Schnepp was on the panel that year. Yet another friend who passed away. Anyways, but yeah, man. So they decided, the WonderCon people, like, all right, do a different panel. Don't do that panel. Do something else. So we came up with this like bullshit thing of like, how to take your creative pursuits to the next level. It was lame. We just changed it. And then John Schnepp showed up, and people threw out suggestions from the audience, and he wrote a piece of fanfic during the panel, which we read at the very end. It was goofy. It was fun. But this story, like in the whole history of San Diego Comic-Con, other than people being, or WonderCon, other than people being unable to attend something, they've never canceled a panel based on outrage. I thought it was a mistake. I thought they should have told all those people to go fuck themselves. Yeah. But I don't run WonderCon. You know, it's not my organization. It's a volunteer organization. The story, you can Google it. It made it into the Hollywood Reporter. People wrote stuff about it. People wrote shitty things about me. Again, I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. So I think people who know me or follow my work know that, you know, look, I'm a genuine dude. We've met and hung out at conventions and at the FNT meet, not last year, but the FNT meetup before that.
Yeah, the one in Vegas last July, I believe was the last one we went to.
Not this past one, the one previous.
Yeah, the one before.
So like, I'm not gonna kowtow to these people, but the main woman who complained actually showed up.
I saw her. I remember I remember her because she looked like, if you remember the Trigglypuff meme, she looked like the Trigglypuff meme as a real person. And keep in mind, because I was in the crowd while this was happening, and everyone else was having like a good time trying to make like the best of it and whatnot. But there was this one person, and I know you were sitting there talking, trying to make the best of it, and she was getting like irrationally angry, and I could see her on her phone, on her Twitter account, blazing up.
She was live tweeting, but like Adrian Curry got super pissed off. And was like berating her. It was I was trying to be the moderator. I was literally just trying to be the person in the middle saying, hey, all are welcome. This is a celebration. I just think that a lot of people that get angry about stuff, they don't have a sense of humor. So and I cannot get along with, if you do not have a sense of humor, we will not be able to hang. Because at some point I'm gonna bust your balls, you're gonna bust my balls. Hey, Paulie, Latino slant. But it was weird. And that was like, there have been other attempts from people to try to quote cancel me, but I just don't care. And I own my company. I'm not going to cancel myself. And we're a politically agnostic movie outlet. We cover things on all sides of the aisle. So I don't know, but that's really funny. I'm so glad that you were there. That's great.
I was there. Like saying, yeah, it was really like a precursor to like basically what our society and culture has become over the last few years. Yeah. Because like at the time it just kind of came out of nowhere. Because I read the same description that you guys read. It's like, oh yeah, this would be a fun thing. Like I know a few guys here, so I'm just, hey, we'll kill an hour and have a good time. And then found out people were upset about it. It's like reading the description, I was like, this is nothing. Like what's the like? It's not offending like anybody, but apparently some people take their terrible fan fiction very very seriously. So
well, that's what I was about to get to, because Chris said it right there. Like, you guys wrote your own. It wasn't going to be anybody's fan fiction. But then you touched upon a point that I think is the key, is they don't have a sense of humor. If I wrote a terrible piece of fan fiction, or I wrote a terrible comic, and somebody was like, all right, we're going to have a panel on terrible comics, and mine happened to be up there, it might suck. But as like an artist, I should be able to recognize, like, yeah, that probably wasn't the best. I get what they're doing. All right, whatever. Like, let it roll. But the fact that you have to go, excuse me, no. Like,
well, I get that there was some confusion that, we were taking fanfic off the internet and then reading it as a way to mock it. That we told people that, like, this piece of fanfic was written by Gorlock 69. And it's like, that was a joke. Like, so we would even have like fake lore with the people, but it was a lie. We were goofing on it.
Even though it would have been objectively funny to take real fan fiction and then read it on the panel.
Well,
yes, absolutely.
I wouldn't have done that. The joke was that we all wrote it, but we told people that we didn't write it, that we were like taking. So I get that once that misunderstanding, people should have just calmed down, but I realize you can never placate these people. So never apologize. Don't care. They leave you alone. It's weird because they don't come after me. Recently I just tweeted for no reason because I woke up and thought it was funny. Make Marvel male again. It's kind of funny. So I tweeted it out.
No, it's funny, but I can definitely understand where the outrage would come from. It's like all of a sudden you got Brie Larson accounts attacking you for no reason.
Like people getting mad, and then I'm like, oh, this doesn't involve me. They're just triggered about. I'm gonna let people fight it out in the chat. It was weird because I had people who know me, like, who were just like, I can't believe that this is what you think. It's like, I just want you to know, and I'm very sincere when I tell you this. I am and always have been a sarcastic asshole. I was a sarcastic asshole when I started Film Threat out of high school in the 80s. I was a sarcastic asshole when I was doing Film Threat magazine in the 90s. When I started doing television in the early 2000s, I was on FX. I did a show called the X Show. I did some other shows when I was on G4. I was a sarcastic asshole. I have not changed. The culture has changed, but I've always been a sarcastic asshole, but, for good, not evil. Like, I've got a good sense of humor. I got a sense of humor about myself. And if you don't understand that about me, it's just, I think then maybe you would look on that as like, I don't know, you take it as a personal attack. Like, But it was great because then X-Ray Girl from Friday Night Tights, and she's on the Nerdrotic channel, and and X-Ray Girl has her own channel. She's like, can I turn that into a t-shirt? I said, yeah, it's not in my, I sell t-shirts on my website, but they're all like film threat stuff. And it's like, it's not really, you take it. So then she did it all for charity, raised a ton of money, and donated it to testicular cancer, because that's what Make Marvel Mail Again should go to. So, you know, whatever, fun story. But yeah, I don't understand how people who like, even people who follow me or know me, oh, look, there's Tom Connors, Frank Moore. There you go.
Good old Bat Tom joining us here.
Oh, love Tom. Love Tom.
By the way, I still would have asked for 30% for that t-shirt. I'm just,
look, I have more ideas than I have time to execute. I you know, so like, take it. It goes to charity. I got my own shirts. I'm good. So,
well, I'm glad, because we're going to shift into this a little bit later on, talking about, because there's a specific part in your documentary where you talk about the things that you guys did on Attack of the Show that you simply can't do anymore because of the way that the culture is now. But I want to back up just a little bit. A few months ago, we had the guys here on the panel here tonight. We did a G4 Tech TV retrospective, and it was basically talking about the time where obviously Comcast bought Tech TV. They merged, and it was like that 8-month period where you had like the best of Tech TV and the best of G4. And at the time, I thought it was great. I thought you combining all of the content from that they had on both shows was going to lead to being a super channel. You have to remember that at this time, this was the early days of digital cable, so it was still kind of like the Wild West of all these like cable channels, where we were thinking, oh wow, 1,000 channels, I'll never run out of things to watch. And then we ran out of things to watch like 4 years later. Then, you know, so I was excited for it, but of course, you know, there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Next thing you know, a lot of people over at Tech TV got laid off, and they all got consumed into G4. I think X-Play was the only show that came from Tech TV that they kept intact for the most part, because Attack of the Shows obviously started off as a Screen Savers. They rebranded it to Attack of the Show, and that's essentially what happened in between there. Now, I know you did a little work with ZDTV. Was this before the Tech TV era or between that time?
Oh my God, I don't even remember ZDTV. Did I write some articles? I may have written some articles for them, but you know, I was on 3 episodes of the Screensavers. So I remember when they made that name change, it was weird. Like, so they called me, this guy, Gavin Purcell, who was the executive producer of, you know, Screensavers, which became Attack of the Show, contacts me out of the blue because I had done this segment for him. I was on National Enquirer TV. I sort of begrudgingly did that. He remembered me as like, oh, that guy's entertaining, and he's sort of a jackass talking about movies. He calls me up and just sort of offers me the job. He's like, look, I'm just offering you this job. It's a segment called DVD Tuesday. You come on every week, and then you just talk about DVDs on every Tuesday. I said, sounds great. But I had felt burned because I'd done some other television before, and I fucking hated doing television. I really didn't like it. It was like, what I didn't like about it was I just want to be myself. I did this show for IFC called Ultimate Film Fanatic, and it was fine working for IFC. I'm an indie film guy, but they wanted to like hip me up and make me look cool. And like, we're going to have you go to the wardrobe department. You got to do this and whatever. And like, we've got you do these image spots. And I'm just like, it just felt fake. I didn't like it. I was sort of, so I was like kind of done with doing TV. And I said, look, I only have 3 requests if I'm going to do this on G4, which by the way was the lowest amount of money I ever got paid to do television, but the most fun I ever had. And my 3 requests were, I want to be able to wear whatever I want within reason. Okay. So if I have a t-shirt for my favorite band, or a Batman shirt, or a Film Threat shirt, or whatever, I'm just going to wear that t-shirt. Although I did wear a t-shirt on Valentine's Day once that said, I heart your vagina. And it was a title of a song. It's a great song. I love your vagina, by a band called Get Set Go. They're a local LA band. I love that band. I'm a super fan. And I argued with the Standards and Practices legal person. I said, look, vagina is a medical term. Oprah says it every other day on her show. Vagina is a medical term. You go in, you have a problem with your vagina, get it checked out. You have a problem with your penis. A penis is a medical term. You should be able to say penis and vagina on television. Anyways, so I wore that. So I got away with it. Then I said, I want to be able to say whatever I want within reason. You know, my opinion is my opinion. Obviously, I'm not going to swear. But I found out later, the same Standards and Practices guy Keith, I said, Keith, can I mispronounce swear words? And he
to
said,
make it sound close enough to one without actually saying it.
Yeah. I said, look, what if I say that Joel Schumacher is a total shathid? Like, can I say shathid? And he's like, oh yeah, you can say shathid. And then I even did stuff where I swore in ASL, which is American Sign Language, which I was learning a little bit of. So I would do like, that means bullshit in ASL. So like when they would come to me on camera, I would just go like this for no reason, but people who knew. So I was always sneaking stuff in there. And I said, the last request. So wear whatever I want, say whatever I want so I could be myself. The last thing was I get to keep all the DVDs, right? I get to keep the DVDs that I review. He said, well, you can't keep the DVDs. We keep them in the producer's library, which I found out later was where producers just stole DVDs. So for themselves. But yeah, that was sort of the story. And then I was on 3 episodes of Screensavers, and Gavin Purcell tells me, he goes, look, we're changing the name of the show. You cannot let this leak out. We're changing the name of the show to Attack of the Show. When I heard it, I thought, that is the stupidest name for a TV show I've ever heard. I cannot believe they're changed, but whatever, because it reminded me of Attack of the Clones. This is in March of 2005. So I started on Attack of the Show at the beginning of, or Screensavers at the beginning of March. And then I think the first episode of Attack of the Show was March 24th, 2005. Anyways, so then I was on every week, with, I had vacations here and there, but I was on every week, and then they'd have me on a couple times. Then I was like a host standby. So if Chekhov is sitting in the captain's chair on the Starship Enterprise, it's because no one else is available. So I was made to be available if Kevin got sick and then other people were sick, I would have to come in and host the show. Yeah. Which I did a bunch of times, which was really fun. But I was on right until the very end, man, when it ended, end of 2012 as we finished shooting, and then through 2013. So that's kind of my story of how I got there. And I was there kind of from the beginning of Attack the Show to the end. And it was, to me, it was my best experience in television. And it was the first time I was able to be myself on camera. But what I think G4 and Attack the Show kind of spawned is what's happening now. Everyone here talking on YouTube, very passionate about comic books, movies, video games, nerd culture, whatever. I love that. I really think that maybe G4 never needed to return, the return of G4 I don't know if it needed to happen, because frankly, YouTube kind of replaced G4. YouTube,
and that, Jacob's been one of the biggest proponents of that article. He's always as much as we want to dunk and as fun as it is, the writing's been on the wall since the day they shut down the first time. I think that's what it was, right?
Jacob? So basically my argument always was even before they brought everything back, everyone likes to say, oh, Frost killed everything. It's honestly, if you take all that away, they still never addressed the elephant in the room. And that was by the time the show got to, like I said, the early 2010s, and they had to address the problem that viewership has started to go down because, like I said, people started getting their source of entertainment elsewhere. YouTube started to become really big at the time. Twitch was starting to pick up. You started doing things like esports, and you before it was okay, everyone did G4 to get your in-game gaming news and game reviews and stuff like that. But then once other people started doing it, once more, I guess you could say kind of amateur people started doing it, they started branching out more. More people just started to kind of drift away. And you have to, if you're going to bring back G4, essentially what you have to address is okay, how do we win back the people who left the first time around? How do we bring those people back while trying to bring in new fans as well? Because obviously people are going to understand, or they're going to know the name Attack of the Show. They're going to know the name X-Play because they remember the shows from back in the day. But you got to find some kind of way to hook those people to keep them going again. And it's probably a much harder task to do that on a format where years later it's oh, well, we're going to start the whole thing on Twitch and kind of work our way in there, because you can't do another 24/7 network again. I mean, that's just going to be a disaster without syndication and all of that other stuff. So to me, it was you have to find a way to gain an audience, which is harder to do now because now there's just so many outlets out there to watch entertainment now. I mean, hell, Cassie's been streaming on Kick. Kick's been blowing up here the last few months. People are on Rumble now. People are starting to shift away from YouTube a little bit. So I mean, even in the next few years, the sources that we go to for entertainment entertainment are going to shift as well. So it's like you got to keep up with the times, and it's very hard to do that. Only very few companies have been able to do that, and I feel like that was probably one of the biggest things that hurt G4 then. But one of the things that did work, at least far as like the initial stage of G4, was the fact that you had two shows that catered to two very specific audiences. You had X-Play, you had Morgan and Adam at the time doing very hilarious video game reviews, going very in-depth into their reviews, but still being entertaining at the same time. So people loved their dynamic, they loved their chemistry. And then, like I said, once G4 acquired Tech TV, and then we went to switch over to the screensavers, now we have to kind of create another chemistry with a brand new show because, hey, the old guys are leaving, we need something fresh here. You have Kevin Pereira, who started off, obviously I think Kevin Pereira, outside of Adam Sessler, is like the longest tenured guy in the entire run of G4. I think he was there from like 2002, I believe, right? And
exactly. And honestly, where I kind of want to add on to that is like I think G4 should have been brought back entirely. I mean, they kind of did it, but they failed at it. They should have been brought back with just a whole new generation of people, but you have to be like it, they have to be entertaining. Like that's the thing. Yeah. It's like you can't just bring new people on, especially people like Frost, who just clearly want to get their political crap out there. You got to bring on like entertaining people and kind of like make it to where like X plays for like the next generation. Yeah, just like how the problem for us and stuff like that. That's why I feel like they went wrong.
The sad problem is with G4 being under like a mega corporation, they were not willing to do anything that breaks the rules. And that is why G4 would have never essentially had a chance to come back. Because if you would have had any reasonable attempt, like you have to break the rules. You have to be willing to do things that are different. And like the way that G4 was apparently being run, it was old world way of thinking and too safe.
Yeah, well, I have a couple thoughts on that. What everybody said. A couple things. One, I think YouTube is a game changer because YouTube, the direct connection you have with an audience, the fact that people are in the chat asking questions and I can talk to them and we can interact. That's the secret sauce of YouTube. But the thing that really blew my mind about YouTube early on, and this was like, I think in 2005, in 2005, there was a video that Red Letter Media did, which was a 70-minute review of episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. And that was done at a time when you could only upload minute clips. So you had to watch it in 7 parts. I loved it. I couldn't believe it. I was like jealous because I was like,
did you know they've never uploaded it in like a proper like long video? It's still only available in that cut up like 7 minutes. Yeah. It's great.
I love it, but like the fact that like I was on G4, it's like, okay, I'm on for like 5 minutes, which was fine. But like every week I was on for 5 minutes to talk about 5 DVDs. I mean, how much detail could I really go in? So I love that. But the main thing is if you're going to bring G4 back, a couple things, there's expectations. One, Kevin and Olivia, and you want Adam and Morgan. That's what people want. I'm sorry. They're brands. They have chemistry. They work together for years. Chemistry doesn't happen overnight. And let me just say, G4 was not G4 on day 1, which was April 24th, 2002. That's when G4 started. It took years for G4 to get good. It wasn't good when Attack of the Show started in March 2005. It wasn't a great show.
Yeah, that show really didn't pick up to like the later part of that decade.
I remember that.
It was 2007 when I noticed when we were at San Diego Comic-Con, I thought this is really working. Like, because I'd done a bunch of TV before on bigger networks, on FX, on Stars. I did other shows, but I was getting recognized at like Trader Joe's, a popular grocery store on the West Coast. I'm not sure if they have them in other parts of the country, but I like it was taking off. Like I go to nerd conventions. It was like I'd done so much other television. People recognized me from G4. So it took 5 years for G4 to get good. The new G4 didn't have that time. So there's that. The other thing is you can't force like chemistry. It just organically happens. Kevin was on the show and then there was Sarah Lane and she left. And then, they tried other people. Whitney Cummings was originally going to be the host with Kevin until Olivia Munn came along. Like it took a while for G4 to get good. It took 5 years. And I'll say this about the Frost, her what she said. I don't disagree with what she said. I think it was incredibly unwise to say those things. It's not as if that's not a true thing. Yes, online harassment is a thing. Welcome to a Tuesday on the internet. What she could have done is she could have, and obviously I actually really felt for her, because you could see like by the end, she's almost breaking down. She's almost breaking down and having like
a moment.
She's having a moment. Like, and I felt for her, like, just look, as a father to a daughter who is also on the internet, that people say fucked up shit. People say fucked up shit in the DMs. You know what you got to do? You got to grow what they call rhino skin. That's what there's a really good documentary. If I could throw out a movie recommendation, it's called Rhino Skin, and it's about actors trying to get parts in Hollywood. And they say you have to develop freaking rhino skin. You got to be tough to go out there to take the shit. What could have happened, which would have been in the spirit of the old G4, was to read some of these comments out loud. Jimmy Kimmel has a segment called, where they read mean tweets about themselves. Show you have a sense of humor about yourself. You laugh. Eventually what happens is the audience will turn. First they turn on you, then they'll turn on your side, because they realize, hey, you're a human being. You have a sense of humor. So I don't disagree with what Frost said. I disagree with what her attacking the audience should never have happened. I don't think she was well served by people behind the scenes.
No,
they kind of almost threw her under the bus and
they did.
Yeah.
Well, here's two problems. Like, the whole Frost thing was simultaneously the best thing and the worst thing that could have happened to G4, because the thing that people forget about is that thing did give G4 a lot of attention, because I remember when it initially spread, there were so many people talking about, oh wow, I had no idea that X-Play was even back. Like, when did they bring G4 back? Because there wasn't a whole lot of promotion about it at the time. So all these people were like, oh wait, G4 is back, Tech TV is back. Let me go watch out and check what's going on there. The problem is that at the same time, while it made people aware that G4 was back, it probably scared off anyone who was even thinking of coming back and watching it again. And that was the big problem. And then the other part, like you said, they kind of threw Frost under the bus. I think they should have just leaned into it a little bit more, but instead I think probably the higher ups thought it was just going to go away by itself. So that for months they didn't really do anything about it. It just kind of waited for the wave to subside. But then when it did, it was like, okay, well, no one's watching again. So yeah.
Well, the big question you have to answer, okay, imagine yourself the head of the new G4. What are you going to do that YouTube is not already doing really well? Red Letter Media has great production value. There are lots of group shows like Midnight's Edge in the morning, all the Midnight's Edge shows that Tom hosts. There's Simpcast. There's FNT. There's, and they're all across the political spectrum. I don't care. Whatever. I feel we're all united with our nerd love. I think people look too often for things that separate us rather than things that unite us, which I think is a more positive way of looking at it. I think that what they leaned into, unfortunately, was leaned into one side of the political aisle only, which was a colossal mistake, because for the most part, gamers are politically agnostic. They don't care. And they might not even have politics. They, you know what they like? Video games. So it's the mistake that's being made with beer brands now, which is completely hypocritical. This latest thing with Miller Lite and disavowing, and G4 made the same mistake, disavowing their past. You know what? Hot girls in bikinis. Yeah, that makes me want a delicious beer. Show it to me in a mug, frothing over. I hope it spills on your chest. And you know what? Let's go for a little equity.
Good shit. Okay.
Let's go for a little equity. How about some shirtless guys, some beefcake guys? Same thing. I'm all for. To me, there would be
put new music over the Top Gun volleyball scene, and then put the Budweiser.
Like I said, there's ways to it.
I don't care. Men and women, sexy men and women, sell me detergent, booze, whatever. This desexualizing people in media or being ashamed for being a sexy or attractive person is bullshit. It's you know what it is? I'm gonna say it, and it's not a word. It's hot phobic.
Yeah.
It is.
So
If the next time someone does that, they're a hot phobe.
Yeah.
And now,
Uh-huh.
here's a
I
really
feel
good-
sorry. I feel
go ahead.
sorry for hot people. Hot people are being discriminated against.
I feel sorry for a 9 right now.
I mean, look at that whole
Why is it
Miller
so hard
Lite
for you,
thing
10?
now, where you have these freaking people throwing like women that used to have all these jobs of being like the hot model. Now that's like kind of becoming a non-thing.
And did you see that they blurred out the faces of the women in those
Of the women in the
those
background,
posters? And
yeah.
do you know why they did that? So they wouldn't
Yeah.
have to pay them a residual. It is so
That's why
hypocritical.
I was wondering what that was.
They
Yes.
blurred it out because they would have to pay them if you saw their faces.
That's crazy.
It's hypocritical.
It's the
It's
TRL rule.
stupid.
The
Yeah.
reason why TRL isn't on like bro, was it Paramount Plus? The reason why it's not on there is because they don't have the rights to the music or the
Right.
appearances,
Oh, exactly.
so they would have to pay
Yeah.
residuals for all.
No.
So they're like, yeah, we're not playing any of that.
I'm tired of hot phobes. I'm tired of hot phobes.
Yeah, like one of the
Yeah.
best examples of hot phobia I can bring up right now, and I wanted to bring it up for a while because I've been talking about this with Josh Berger, one of our editors over at Bounding Into Comics. Halle Bailey from the new Little Mermaid movie. That woman,
Oh yeah.
I like her a lot.
beyond that, like she is. I'm sorry, everybody, a little crude, but she is packing. She's got ballistics. It's insane. You see it in all the dresses. She's like
Yeah.
about
Mhm.
to pop out.
Yeah.
Then you look at the trailers of Ariel, the bikini-wearing mermaid, and she is flat as possible.
Dude,
Like,
I noticed that
it's- and I-
too.
And we're just like, look, Josh and I are looking like, why are they doing this? What is the point of this? And there you go, your hot phobia.
I tell you what,
yeah.
just real quick, it's weird because the old G4 was kind of ahead of its time in a lot of ways. Like we talk about a show like Arena, which is like you're talking about a show that was essentially like esports before esports, and that's one of the things I think if they didn't have the biggest budget in the world, obviously, but they really did kind of like set a standard as far as that goes. Especially when we see like the rise of like esports and Twitch blowing up after the fact. But it's like, yeah, now you're trying to present the same type of entertainment to people in a different time. You have to get a little bit more creative with the ways that you go about it, and it's kind of hard to do that in this atmosphere where it's like everyone's walking on eggshells because we don't want to upset a sponsor or upset this insert community like right here and stuff like that. But you guys got away with so much stuff during that time in Attack of the Show because in a lot of ways, because you were on kind of like a digital cable network, not like one of the major cable networks, I don't think people paid too much attention to what was going on as far as like the censors and stuff like that go. So you guys got away with doing so much. It's like, oh, okay, we'll find a new way to push the boundary like this week, and then when we find the line that we've gone too far, let's only push it just a little bit more before we back off.
Well, that's the point of anything that's meaningful. It should be kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
It could be, the best comedy the best comedy and the best storytelling asks questions. Questions, doesn't tell you how to think, doesn't lecture you, just ask questions. And then you decide how you want to feel about something based on your own life experience. But it's just bizarre to see all this. And that's why I think that the documentary is resonating with people, because I'm looking at it through like now. And there's a song that's in the movie. It's in like the middle of the movie that Zach Selwyn sings called You Can't Do That No More. We're going to release it as a music video in August when the Blu-ray comes out. I'm very excited.
Ooh,
so,
nice.
But yeah, no, it's that's part of the thread and the theme, because when we started breaking down, like I was collecting hundreds of hours of footage from Attack of the Show. We were doing like these breakdowns by category, and our largest media folder was You Can't Do That Anymore. We didn't even know what to call it, just can't do that no more. Like jokes and comedy bits and this and like stuff that like pushed the limits. And Kevin and Olivia were always trying to push the limits. Within like what you could get away with on basic cable, right? I mean, there's nothing, but like, I mean, God, even like Olivia did like crazy stuff. Like I'm a hot Washington Monument. So she had she dressed like the Washington Monument, but with a bikini on the Washington Monument. I mean, it was stupid, but like all of that is like, when did we stop having a sense of humor? So to me, if someone indicates that they don't have a sense of humor about themselves, I look on that as a weakness. And so when I looked at like the new G4s coming back, you have to ask, what is your purpose? This is also just a quick aside to the audience. If you want to find happiness in life, The secret is having a purpose, right? Like my YouTube channel, Film Threat, my media outlet, Film Threat. If you go to filmthreat.com or you look at our YouTube channel, I have a purpose. What is my purpose? To lift up and promote and help people become aware of small independent films you would never hear of. Like my movie, frankly, which is a small indie movie.
Right.
And every week, you know, if you go to the Film Threat website on a daily basis, there are reviews of movies. I guarantee you've never heard of them. They're all out on VOD, or you can see them on Mubi or Tubi. There's Movie and Tubi.
Movie.
All right, get it mixed up. Movie is
Yeah,
not a
no,
thing.
I do that all the time.
That sounds like a Kevin Smith meme. The movie,
Yes,
by
it
the way.
does.
Yeah.
But like,
Cow.
I grew up watching small indie films, filmmakers like David Lynch, John Waters, Steven Soderbergh. I love those filmmakers. They push the boundaries, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, Jen Patchy. But like it's I don't know. I'm reading the comments. People are being very kind. I appreciate that.
For the most part.
The Schmidt's gay beer. I love that. I love that bit. But it's you know, like Film Threat is a very clear purpose. We support and talk about small indie movies you wouldn't have heard of, like the movie Blackberry, starring Jay Baruchel and Glenn Howerton. I thought that movie was fantastic. It's out in theaters in limited release. You'll be able to get it on video on demand. It's about the invention of the Blackberry, which was created by the best Canadian engineers. But like, that's my purpose and meaning in life, is to promote these small indie movies and let you know about them. And there are good ones and bad ones, but you know, what was the purpose of the new G4? How are they different than what if you look at the best of what's on YouTube? What is G4, the new G4? What would it do that cannot be done on YouTube? Are they going to different like game developers? Are they doing interviews? Are they doing deep dives?
This should be leveraging, yeah.
I mean, like, look at like long form podcasting changed a lot of things. You know, we realized people have the patience to sit down with someone like a Joe Rogan, who will interview someone I've never heard of, who isn't famous, about UFOs or drugs or something in the medical field, or some MMA man or woman or UFC fighter or whatever. And it's a fascinating interview. Why? Because Joe Rogan's interested. He asks questions. There's so many different things they could have done with G4 that would have been different than what you already see. There are already game reviews. There are tons of channels doing game reviews on YouTube that are huge, that do a great job, deep dives, like some insane like OCD, which I love. People doing that kind of thing. The production value of Red Letter Media, you know, it's like part comedy show, and you know, by the way, we tell you about movies. Yeah. Great show, Red Letter Media. Best of the Worst. I never miss a video by those guys.
Yeah, Best of the Worst is their best series by far.
I love it. I love it. But the point is that they did not nail down what their purpose was. What's your mission? What are you trying to do? What are you going to do that's different? It never was clearly defined. They didn't have enough runway to be able to figure it out. The chemistry, I don't know that they ever developed chemistry, but they had really good talent. Like, you know, I thought that Frost provided, I mean, a lot of the talent was like, they're trying to check boxes. We need this type of person. We need that type of person. And that's fine too. That's cool. It's sort of a corporate mandate these days, but they didn't have the time to develop that chemistry, which only comes with time. I mean, that's why I point out G4 was not G4 on day one. It took 5 years. It took 5 years before it all got like really good, where you're looking around like, this is appointment television, you know? So
let me ask you
comment on that.
Let me ask you this question, because obviously you worked with so many personalities in G4. The documentary obviously focuses a lot on Kevin and Olivia, because they were the core of Attack of the Show. But you also go a little bit on Sarah Underwood, Candace Bailey, and a few other people you worked with. I wanted to ask you this question. You don't have to throw anybody under the bus, but all the people that you worked with, who was your favorite people that you got to work with behind the scenes? Is there anyone you still talk to today? Like, do you still talk to Alice Hayslip? Do you still talk to Kirsten Adams? Is there anyone else you see to, or are you just kind of completely out of that realm now?
I mean, the people I talk to are like Zach Selwyn, and like the people that are in the doc, the behind the scenes people I talk to. But like, it's a weird thing in the entertainment industry. You don't realize. I realized it on the first television I did back in 2000. You are a family for the time that you're making the show. You are a tight-knit family, you're going out to happy hour, you're doing this, Christmas parties, you're going to like, there's the company Christmas party, you're doing this thing, you're traveling together, whether it's, you know, the CES show or some whatever thing, South by Southwest. And as soon as the show is over in entertainment, everybody goes their separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
That's how and I was like, the first time that happened to me in early 2000, I was like, oh, that's weird. It's pretty much what happened at G4. I mean, I kept in touch with some people like Blair Butler. We had a meetup group where we would like watch football on Sundays, which was fun. Yeah, no, you know.
By the way, she wrote a movie not too long ago. It was
the vampire movie.
Yes.
Yeah,
I keep blanking on the name, but I know it just came out very recently. You did see that one, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, it was really cool.
Covenant
Like, Blair Butler. Wait, the Blair Butler? It was great. And no, she was one of my favorite people that I worked with because she was, you know, just like very real.
Invitation.
Yeah, The Invitation. Yeah, really solid vampire movie that Blair Butler wrote. She was always writing, like she produced other TV shows. She was more of a behind the scenes person. I think that she was a little embarrassed, even though she did stand up comedy, to like be in front of the camera. She didn't love it. She preferred to be a writer behind the scenes. But the best person I ever worked with in TV was Kevin Pereira. Best person, hands down. He's Bugs Bunny because he's there to be an irritant. I mean that in a good way. He's there to kind of just think of the dynamic. Yeah. Think of Bugs Bunny's role in any Bugs Bunny cartoon. He messes with Daffy Duck, who takes himself too seriously. He messes with Elmer Fudd. Anyone he just messes with. He'll dress in a dress. You know, he'll dress in
frog splash in the pudding.
He'll do whatever. Kevin Pereira was Bugs Bunny. He was there to just push people's buttons and take people to the limit. I had a great time working with Olivia Munn. I don't have a bad thing to say about her. She always treated me kindly. She got very big and then, fell out of touch. I mean, remember, it ended in 2012, right? So that's 11 years ago. People have gotten married, gone their separate ways. So my whole thing with doing the doc was I wanted to tell the story of G4, like me being kind of the gateway in and then kind of the gateway out, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
These two, because if you look, I said G4 is obviously known for Attack of the Show and X-Play, but do you think that one of the issues why it didn't grow at the time was because they spent so much time on those two shows? They didn't really put much into like other content out of there?
Well,
do you think that a few other big shows would have helped keep G4 alive a little bit longer than it did?
Well, as dumb as it is, Cops and Cheaters did actually, that was a good lead in. People would run into Cops and Cheaters and they would stick around and watch other shows, or they would stay watching the network after, Attack of the Show would end, and there'd be the X-Play was after, and then it was Cops and Cheaters, whatever. It worked. I think G4 was ahead of its time. It was way ahead of its time. It was before you can track this. It was before social media. You can see this documentary, another movie recommendation called The Social Dilemma. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's on Netflix. They didn't start using algorithms on things like Twitter and Facebook until 2012. That's when G4 ended, right? Or, when G4 and Attack of the Show went off the air. It was actually like the first quarter 2013 because they had some commitments or whatever, some commitments of overseas. But like that's when they started using algorithms, which I think further divided people because people that are angry stay on social media longer. The other thing that algorithms did, it divided people and not in a positive way. The other thing that happened in 2012 is that's when the iPhone became cheap.
Yeah.
That's when it became
temporarily.
I mean, I don't know. I think big tech
not just the iPhone, but like smartphones in general. So you got your cheap Androids out there. This is when everybody's getting on the internet.
It became inexpensive. You can also look at a same trajectory of like incidents of like teen suicide and depression started to spike that year.
Yeah.
Because kids were now it was affordable. Like, okay, I have my phone. I'm the adult. Now I'll get my kid a phone, right? And then when kids had access to phones, I don't think it's hell. I think that it's
Well, no, it's funny. Spencer just brought up an article like a couple of days ago about kids, and kind of like we're finding out now the negative effect that kids have being addicted to like cell phones and tablets, stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, we always find out these studies like 10 years after it's too late to do anything about it.
It's I believe that all of those things are very destructive and probably more dangerous than smoking drugs or alcohol to children.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that any child, maybe under 21, I mean, just as a father that raised 2 kids that aren't assholes, that was my goal, was to raise 2 children. Sorry, I don't know why my thing is falling asleep here. Can you guys see me? Okay.
Yeah, but you're still good.
Yeah, I don't know, my computer's doing weird stuff.
Yeah. If I say Comcast still screwing you over.
I want to raise 2 kids that aren't assholes. That was sort of my goal, right? Was 2 kids. I want to raise 2 kids that are not assholes. So it's not easy. And they didn't get cell phones till they were, like well out of high school. So I see it, and you see it now. I think especially in Los Angeles area, I'll see like, here, just hand your kid your phone because I don't want to like have time with my child because I'm a lazy parent.
It's weird how that mentality works, because it's like now we're in an age where people get freaked out. It's like, oh, my kid doesn't have a cell phone. How am I going to reach him if something bad happens? You're like, look, it wasn't that long ago we lived in an age where kids didn't have cell phones, and we got along pretty well. It's like,
or if that's your big concern, you can get phones that literally just call. Like, if that's your big concern, you can. Oh, I need to get hold of my kid. Here's a Nokia with Snake on it.
I think what they need is a firmware update to the iPhone. So fine, it's an iPhone, but like you as a parent kind of select age appropriate things, and then you can only download. I mean, you could create a firmware version of this, Black Mirror that basically, just has only available certain things. Make it a stripped down phone or a flip phone.
I've seen those. They're around.
Yeah, they're
People
around.
Just buy them. Yeah.
There is no way I would give a child. I mean, yeah, sure, I could be a dad again. What the hell? I would never give my kid access to a phone beyond a certain age. Kids' minds are not ready for it. They don't have the discipline.
Dude, humans, like adults' minds aren't ready for it. We see it all the time. Like,
I mean, they keep telling you how important human interaction is in kids at young ages. But if you're just sitting there, my tablet will raise my kid, it'll be fine. It's like, no, it won't. What do you say, Cassie?
No, it's dangerous. We're about to find out how destructive this is to society. I mean, we're just seeing the fact
already
that,
seen it.
Yeah, we're just beginning to see it. Just the fact that we can't even have a conversation where we disagree on the internet. Is shocking.
It's scary. It's weird because all of us, we were able to grow up in a time where like technology, particularly society, like technology that relates to connecting with other people from different walks of life so easily. Like, we know what life was before that, and now we know what life is now. So we do have that contrast. We can compare and contrast and really think about that. Whereas, Gen Z particularly, they don't have that at all. They don't know what it's like to live in a time before the cell phone, the smartphone specifically. And it is really concerning. And you could definitely see the drastic differentiation between millennials and Gen Z from that, specific point right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's disheartening. It's disheartening just because, look, I have a vested interest in this, right? Like, I love the nerd space, but what I've seen is people become divided in a way like, look, I don't care if you love or if you hate The Last Jedi. I'm pretty sure there's a Star Wars movie that we can find some common ground or even a character. You know what I mean? So just
real quick, because I know
gets divided is depressing. So.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people talk about this, and it's like with The Last Jedi, and you see this especially now with television and movies now, these writers and these producers, they kind of inject themselves into these characters that they're putting out here for us to consume. So when they get rejected en masse, they take it personally because they feel like that we're rejecting them. It's like, look, The Last Jedi, when I first saw it, it's like, okay, this is just a bad Star Wars movie, moving on, right? But then this whole culture shift happened where it's like, oh, if you think The Last Jedi is bad, you must be a bad bad person. You have to be
They
a
made it
misogynist
that
or something
culture
like that.
point,
It's
yeah.
like it went from just being a bad movie to it's like, oh, now it's a litmus test of your morality if you don't like the
Well,
Last Jedi.
I'll give you maybe a bad hot take. I hated The Force Awakens.
Oh, really?
hated it. The way that Han Solo went out like a bitch was bullshit.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't reunite Han, Luke, and Leia in that movie and have it be an adventure about them was
Total
like,
missed opportunity.
huge,
So
the
many
biggest-
missed opportunities.
biggest missed opportunity in movie history. In movie history, I think J.J. Abrams was exposed as a fraud. I think he's a hack. The mystery box thing is
Long before
BS.
that, yeah.
I actually liked The Last Jedi from the standpoint of, just a moment, I felt it was a setup to a payoff that didn't happen. I felt that The Rise of Skywalker was going to be about Luke coming back from the Force side, who, like, you know, a rise, like a literal, like, religious analogy, rising like Jesus Christ. It turns out I was wrong. And
You see, it's funny to hear you say
no
that
offense,
because I
was
had
on you. That's Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, exactly.
Rise of Skywalker, everyone was united about how bad that movie was.
Yeah.
But I mean, that trilogy is just awful. How that woman is still running Star Wars after that such a big failure. The brand has been driven.
she got
into
some
the
Polaroids
ground.
in a safe. That's why she still has a
Female.
job.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, I'm doing a fake trial on the Film Threat YouTube channel of the it's called Critics Court, Star Wars on Trial.
Yeah, no, I say funny you hear you say that because I had the complete opposite reaction about Star Wars. I didn't mind the what was it, The Force Awakens that much because I thought, like you said, I thought it was setting up something that will probably pay off down the line. And then The Last Jedi comes out and it's like essentially Rian Johnson took everything that J.J. Abrams did, smashed it with a hammer, and then pushed it back his way.
Well,
It's like, okay, good luck with this.
I liked that because I hated what JJ did. I thought that he leaned into the things that he didn't understand. He did not understand Star Wars. If you are going to kill an iconic, legendary hero, fictional hero like Han Solo, how he did that was awful because it's not about the character that's dying. It's about the people around him that love that character because you see how they react to his death. So if Leia and Luke were there when Han Solo died and he had a death scene rather than like lightsaber through the chest falling down into a bottomless chasm, that was stupid. That was terrible. And that there was no one at Lucasfilm that could have pointed out what an awful idea that was. It's terrible. It's terrible.
But it's subverted. They were probably all like so excited about that.
It
Like,
subverts-
whoa, nobody saw this coming. Oh my god!
I want to give someone a stone cold stunner every time I hear somebody say it subverted my expectations. I just want to.
Oh man, I hear that so
They
much.
ruined those characters. I mean, I jokingly said for G4, what they should have done is brought back all the legacy G4 people and killed us off one by one. So they have like me come on Attack of the Show and then I get killed in a dumb way. And then Blair Butler just have like appearances from the old cast. They talked about doing it. They never did it. Yeah. I think that was stupid. So, and then they brought in, I think bring in fresh blood. Absolutely. But the fact that they disavowed the old G4 and looked down upon comedy bits and who Olivia Munn was or who Sarah Underwood was or who Candace Bailey was, like, you don't do that. Yeah. You don't do it as a beer brand. You don't do it as a television network brand. And the fact that this lesson has to be learned over and over again by people with arrogance, filled with their own hubris in this industry and narcissism is sort of sickening to me. And I feel like there was a profound lack of understanding of nerd culture. So
exactly, we're gonna take a crap. We're gonna take a crap all over what you used to like 15 years ago, but then use that same brand to bring you back 15 years later. Because then you wonder why it didn't work.
It was sad. It was sad. I don't know. I tried to watch it. I tried to watch it myself. I watched it live when Frost said that. I think it was pre-recorded. They ran it as a fake live or whatever. But I was like, wow, that was unusual and unhinged. And it's not anything that would have happened on the old G4. If anything, they would have made a comedy bit out of it. They would have turned it into a comedy bit. Like the reading mean tweets on Jimmy Kimmel, very funny segment. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel isn't funny anymore. He hasn't been funny in years. But
Yes, yeah.
that's a funny
None of them
segment.
have.
It's
I mean, at the end of the day, it just comes off like they were just a bunch of elitist pricks, and
Yeah.
it showed. It showed. It's sad to say, but it is what it is.
If I was Frost, I would have come out in the bikini. I would have been like, "Oh, you don't think I'm hot? You don't think that this is hot?" Just like rub it like right in their faces.
I think Frost was a very attractive woman. I don't know what the problem is, like whatever, but obviously the comments were getting to her, and you know, look, I feel bad. Like I will say this, having worked at the old G4, there were things where like people would go after like Morgan or people online, but Olivia just made friends with her audience. She was constantly talking to the audience. She had meetups at like not part of her work. She would do a meetup with fans. Olivia Munn would do that at San Diego Comic-Con just
the thing
because
is,
she wanted to.
Yeah, if you just don't act like an elitist prick, the reality is doesn't matter who you are. If you're male, you're female, you're gonna have people that hate you for whatever reason. If you're even remotely doing something right, that just comes with the territory. If you're not an elitist prick and you actually make friends and actually connect with your audience, then you'll have people that kind of squash out that hate for you, essentially. But if you're not even willing to bridge that gap because you think you're too good for it, or you just feel as though, oh, I don't have the time for this, then that's not going to happen. And you're never really going to make that connection with people that are willing to say, yo, shut the fuck up, stop talking about her. Like, that's really what it boils down to.
And honestly, if I can add on to that, I mean, here's usually my solution to most of the hate. Just send this link.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. He literally sends a link where it basically just tells people that thanks for being an ass.
Yeah,
I've seen him use it.
There are 100 different ways that they could have solved that issue that would have involved humor, which would have been more in line with the old G4. But to not only have that rant, yell at the audience, and then also then disavow like the past of G4, that shouldn't have been the attitude. That was the attitude. It's a very corporate attitude, and I think that's I mean, I am very anti-corporate culture. I'm Gen X, so I was a little bit older than the people who were at G4 originally, you know. So I was more of a Gen X, I don't give a fuck like attitude about, well, a lot of different things. But you know, like there's just, I don't know, there's so many different ways they could have handled it better, and it is what it is. But I hope that the doc, like, my whole thing with the doc was like to just kind of like remember the old G4. Like, it was actually a good show for its time. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of things on that show, probably a bunch of comedy bits where you go, that probably went too far, that could offend some people, whatever. Come up with something new that you can do now, you know. But yeah, I'm not a super, and when I first started working at G4, it was not corporate at all. But look, I understand, like when I saw Frost and that thing happen, I remembered that, for example, Morgan Webb, we were at this one building at like Olympic and Bundy, and she like was just going to her car, and someone popped out from the parking lot, a crazed fan, found out where she worked, whatever. And it became a policy that all female talent at G4 had to be escorted to their cars by security because there were actual crazy people. That will never not be a thing. There will always be crazy people that are delusional, that are on the spectrum, on maybe the side that could be a problem. And
a little bit.
You got to deal with it, but that comes with the territory. I mean, I've had my haters, but for the most part, people like what I do, and the people that like what I do sort of shout down the haters. But, you know, I'm on the audience's side, and I'm always thinking about the audience of like, well, what are they looking for? What do they want? What do they want to hear? And also, I feel obligated. I feel like when I'm on a show like yours, like you asked me a question, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. You know, it's like I'm on the witness stand in a trial. You know? Like I can't.
No,
I gotta tell you the truth.
Really... No, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead. Yeah.
Well, like I constantly mentioned before I decided to start doing YouTube, I had to have that serious conversation. Do I want to put myself out there? There's going to be risks that come with that. Putting myself out there, you know, makes it so that people can disagree with me, and it could potentially get out of hand. That's a conversation that I had. That's a consideration I had to, you know, take before I decided, hey, why not give it a shot? And that's an important conversation to have if you want to do that, because that there is things that naturally come with the territory. You're not going to come across people anywhere that are just going to simultaneously all agree with you. That's not how it is. If you choose to live in an echo chamber, sooner or later that you're not really going to connect with anybody new, or you're never going to really have any growth. That's just what it is. And to put yourself in an echo chamber, I mean, you don't really you're not learning anything from it. Like, it's good to put yourself out there in a sense of to learn, to become a better person. And a lot of people feel as though, well, they have no room for growth, or that they are perfect in some way, and they don't want to put themselves out there for criticism. And that's not what's going to make you better at what you do or a better person. You're hiding from that potential.
Yeah, I just, there's a bizarre thing of trying to deny that we like people that are attractive people, right? I think there's a reason there are a lot of fans, female fans of Marvel, because every male Marvel character has to take their shirt off in a Marvel movie. It's a trope. It's a checkbox.
Oh, absolutely.
Paul Rudd did it. Benedict Cumberbatch did it. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, they all take their shirts off.
And they all do it, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a very attractive woman. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. And there are, you know what? And that's just the way things are. So, to deny human biology and to actually like distance yourself from that, if you're a video game channel brand, probably not going to work out well. If you're a beer brand, probably not going to work out well. So it's because everyone sees how false it is, how fake it is, it's a fake virtue signal. It's a fake, it's BS. So I know people want to bring up the get woke, go broke. It's just it's putting the wrong people. Like, look, who should probably be in charge of, say, Bud Light or Miller Lite? Someone who drinks Bud Light or Miller Lite. And it's probably not mostly, for the most part, women. It's working class, blue collar dudes. I mean, I go to a dive bar in Pasadena every week called the 35er. Bud Light, would have been a thing.
You know what's more infuriating about that? Like, right now, if there was just a beer company that just had the balls to come out, like a Coors Light, and be like, hey, you want to just drink beer? You want to just have a good time with your friends, not have to have political nonsense shoved down your throat? Here, drink this drink this light beer. Hey, are you a woman? Do you also like beer? Yeah, we want you to drink our beer too. Just drink beer and shut up.
You're trying to take a politically active progressives and bow to them with their marketing is the stupidest strategy ever, because it is a very small, most people don't care that are in the middle, but once they see this stuff, it's a huge turnoff. And I've just always been a very anti-corporate guy. I'm more of an indie guy, and at this point I will never work for a company that has a human resources department. I feel like that's any company under like 30 to 50 people generally doesn't have. You can actually get apps now that deal with any HR issue, right? If you're a decent manager, you don't even need all that shit. But look, I'm a small business person, small entrepreneur. Got my YouTube channel, my movie website, making movies on the side. It's like I just prefer to be. I've always had an indie project, even though I have worked for big companies who've hired me. I mean, I'll just be Boba Fett. Sure, you want to hire me for this? I mean, sure, I'll work for your company. What's my commitment? How much am I getting paid? Does it fit what something that I feel comfortable doing? One thing I never did, which I turned down a bunch of times, was doing gossip. Like, I was going to be on, he had a show called The Gossip Show or something. And I was like, I don't do gossip. I can't, I feel weird. Like, I don't care about
There's
the
no passion in this. Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much longer you're going to stick around
I probably need to drop off, but
real quick before you real quick before you head out, I did want to ask you one thing, and it goes into Film Threat, because you were talking about earlier promoting like these small indie films. Every Monday night, myself, Rob Motto, Rick Aragon, we do a Monday night movie review show, and it feels like the first half of this year we've struggled to find some good solid movies this year. I think the best movie I've seen so far was probably like Plane, which isn't saying a whole much as major releases go. So do you have do you have like any kind of sleeper hits out there for this year that we should be looking at?
couple things. Why are you not reading Film Threat? We post like 3 to 5 reviews a day. Movies.
Did you not hear I was doing a movie review show?
Yeah. There's also a Film Threat YouTube channel. I mean, obviously the Film Threat YouTube channel, but we started a trailers channel. So it's just Film Threat trailers. Check that out. But a couple things. One, there's Sisu, which is a Finnish film about a guy killing Nazis that just came out. You can check out Sisu. I mean, John Wick 4 I thought was great, and that's a big studio movie. Same studio, Lionsgate, that did Sisu. There's also
that was like 2 weeks ago. That's ancient history. We need to be up to date. Come on.
I'll tell you what I just saw. A movie called The Boogeyman with David Desmalchin. It's fantastic. It's the guy who directed the movie Host. Did you ever see Host on Shudder? Host was great. It's about like a Zoom call. It's a horror movie in the form of a Zoom call. I think it's on Shudder. Dude, it's fantastic. But Boogeyman I think is out in a couple of weeks. So I always will find, look, not every week is a home run. There's a lot of dogs. But
Jacob knows.
Oh yeah.
I always tell people you should diversify your media diet. I like a good blockbuster movie. I can't wait for The Flash with Michael Keaton. I'm really looking forward to see Batman in a Flash movie. But I feel like diversify your media diet. Like, I'm a big fan of documentaries. I mean, my documentary, Attack of the Doc, I think it's worth checking out. There's a lot of other good documentaries out there. I just saw a documentary called Squaring the Circle about guys who were the art directors of some of the more iconic album covers from the 70s and 80s. It's fantastic.
I'm in for that.
Look it up, Squaring the Circle. So I'm all about like indie film, but that's like, I live for that because here's the thing. If you only watch Marvel and Star Wars movies or Disney movies and all those sort of mainstream movies, you would probably end up being a very depressed person because most of that stuff is garbage.
So wrong.
Most of it is garbage.
5 points added to your social credit score.
It's soulless corporate shit.
Yeah. And if we didn't watch foreign stuff, we would never found movies like RRR last year, right?
RRR, the best film of last year, along with like KGF Chapter 1 and 2, I thought were really good. There's a lot of good Indian cinema, Telugu films, Tollywood stuff, but like that's why I watch a lot of Korean stuff.
Here.
I mean, Squid Game is Korean, but like, have you seen this TV show called Extraordinary Attorney Woo?
I did watch a couple episodes of that.
Great. It's a woman who is autistic and she's a lawyer, and it's a lawyer show, but you see the world through her eyes, how she sees the world. It's incredible. Such a great performance. The woman who plays the lead character, she isn't autistic, but it's so great. Like, so the thing is this,
I'll do you one better than that just real quick. There's another show. There's another show on there called Tomorrow, which is also on Netflix. It's a South Korean show. It's a show. The premise of the show is that you have a bunch of Grim Reapers, and their job is to prevent people from committing suicide. So they find people who are on the fringe of killing themselves, and they try to reel them back in and keep them from committing suicide. It's only like 16 episodes on Netflix, I believe, 13 to 16, but it's very, very well written, and even for like a one-off, it's absolutely great. Wow. So definitely check that one out.
But that's the key. Like, look, you can talk about all the big mainstream Hollywood movies, and that's fine. Having said that, you have to check out other stuff. You have to have like, and I love like small documentaries. There's a really good one that's on Peacock right now called "I Love You, You Hate Me." It's like a docu-series. It's like 2.5 hours. It's about Barney the dinosaur. And it's brilliant. It's such a good doc. And the guy who made that doc is a filmmaker named Tommy Avalone. And he's done a bunch of really small docs. That's how I got to know him. He did a movie called The Bill Murray Stories. That's all these crazy stories about people randomly meeting Bill Murray. So just, check out like small documentaries, small indie horror films. This movie, The Boogeyman, is great. Did you like Barbarian last year?
I did see Barbarian last year. I liked it until the ending. The ending kind of killed it for me, but I did see the film.
Good. Yeah. I love Barbarian. I thought it was great. And Boogeyman it's like got that kind of like cool like vibe. It's like such a great tone, really, really well executed, just about a child's fear of what's in the dark. And it's so well done. it's great. But
my two
Yeah.
sleeper hits just real quick was Pearl was really good.
Oh, I love
and
Pearl.
Pearl was amazing. And then there was a movie with Stephen Lang called Old Man. If you haven't checked that one out, definitely check that one out.
But I'm familiar with that movie. Yeah, this is the thing is like this is why I love like the nerd community. Is not everyone can know everything. I know a lot about a lot of stupid, weird, insular things. I could sit here forever and tell you about the movies of Kaveh Zahidi, right? Which is he's one of my favorite like underground filmmakers. Check out a movie called I Am a Sex Addict. It is a brilliant film. It's not a pornographic movie in any sense, but it's called I Am a Sex Addict.
Words of Paradise actually has an interesting question in the chat. He's actually a fan of yours, Chris. He gave a very favorable review of your.
Let's hear it. Oh, here we go. Words of Paradise. Chris, before you go, what's your opinion on Edgar Wright and specifically Baby Driver compared to his traditional, heavily British movie work? I love Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright's the real deal. Always been a fan of his. I also like Baby Driver. I know it's like look, I like when a director who makes a certain kind of movie kind of branches off and makes a different kind of film. Like for example, Kevin Smith, who made the film Red State, which starts off like you think it's going to be like one of those like Kevin Smith movies, like, oh, it's going to be penis jokes and this and whatever, and it gets really dark. So I really like Red State, and I like that Kevin Smith broke away from that. So I like when a director will kind of get out of their comfort zone from a movie that they normally make. So I really enjoyed Baby Driver. So I just think Edgar Wright, and I didn't really like his last film, that like Last Night in Soho. I thought was like he was swinging for the fences and just didn't cut it. But and someone else asked a question I'll respond to about Adam Sessler. I knew Adam Sessler back, when I was at G4. He was perfectly great to work with. I loved like hanging out with him. He was super nice. He was very political even back then, but but social media was not that big of a deal. And every time we get together, I'd want to talk to him about video games, and he'd want to talk to me about movies. And so we would just like, I always love talking to him. I don't know what happened to him. I think he's suffered a lot of life stuff. He was unceremoniously let go at the original G4. I think that he has struggled. It appears as if he struggled in life. I don't know exactly how serious he is on social media. I think that a lot of his tweets are concerning. And when I say concerning, he can have whatever opinion he wants. It makes me sad. Like when I see what, how he was acting towards just people, like not even asking like weird questions, or like, I don't consider, I don't hate people if they voted a way that I don't agree with, because that's who would do, as far as I'm concerned, we're all, I'm assuming all fellow Americans here. I'm on the side of Americans. I'm not loyal to the party because they just want to push division. And if you buy into that mindset of constantly getting like going down this dark pathway of division, whether they're dividing us by ethnicity, whether they're dividing us by gender, sexuality, or what state you live in, or what your or what Star Wars movie you like or dislike. I don't agree with.
Like I said, it's not surprising that a bunch of people from San Francisco and LA are lean politically to the left. But I feel like a lot of people kind of got broken by the rise of Donald Trump, and he feels like he was one of those people.
Look, yes, and I feel sad. I feel sad because I look at that and it just really makes me sad. And there's other things going on in his life.
Because I love Sessler.
Yeah. You know what? I haven't spoken to him. I asked him if he wanted to be in the doc, and he was like, "No, I'm good." And then he stopped following me on Twitter, and I don't know why. Probably because I said something. Probably because I said something that was kind of a smart ass comment. Because
either that, or maybe you're following somebody.
Again.
Maybe I'm following someone. Maybe I'm following someone he doesn't like, and he noticed it. I think that those are small-minded things. I'm not going to judge you. Whatever. I probably follow some problematic accounts. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. Stop giving a shit what other people think of you. It really is liberating to not give a fuck. But
I know, right?
What I saw, his behavior was dark, and some of the things he said were dark. And I always think about, there's a really interesting book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. There's a story in that book I never forgot, and it's about a guy who's this guy's getting on the subway in New York. He's got his 2 kids with him. He gets on the subway. They're in the subway car, and the kids are acting like little bully assholes. They're going around and they're bugging everybody, and they're loud and obnoxious and annoying and like bugging. And the people on the subway are like, dude, like, they're looking at him like your kids are being unruly. He's kind of just sitting there. Finally, one of the passengers on the subway says to him, it's like, sir, would you please take care of your children? They're bothering everyone on the subway car. And he looks and he says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We just left the hospital. Their mom died. I just want to get them home. And it changes how you think, right? Like, I don't know. When I see someone being an asshole on social media, I think maybe they had a bad day. Or I see someone lash out and I'm like, you know, something bad happened to that person. You don't know what's in someone's head when they lash out. I think a lot of people that make stupid comments on social media are usually children. They're children in adult bodies. And when I say children, I'm literally like 11 years old and has a Twitter account and is saying mean things to get a reaction.
It is a crime that I should ever have to be like, I could ever come across a teenager's opinion on the internet. It is a crime. I want an investigation.
I remember, think back. I have a friend of mine. She teaches junior high, and she says young girls at that age are pure evil. They're cruel. They're mean to each other. They're mean to, like, they're it's an awkward phase. So I think they're probably a little kid, something happened to them, or they are just genuinely a soulless asshole person. So I try not to judge too harshly. So when I saw Adam making those comments, it just made me sad for him. It made me sad for him. Oh, yeah. I know that, like, he has struggled with career stuff. He struggled with a lot of problems. I don't want to say anything specific, but I know some specific problems he struggled with. But he's got to look inward and maybe question, like, because we cannot solve all the giant problems facing us in the future if we care about this stuff and are so divided as a country. Yep. And I have vowed, like, that I'm not gonna support people who are divisive. I'm going to make media and things that will lean into a large tent and bringing people together. And I was trying to look, my movie's not really lectury, but if you look for it, there's messaging that's underneath the surface. Mm-hmm. There's a little montage of YouTubers at the end, and they're all across different ends of the political spectrum, totally on purpose. Yep. I want to see if there's a way we can become more united. Because what's happening with both political parties do this is they're using the same strategy that Ming the Merciless used to remain in power on Mongo. I'm, of course, talking about Flash Gordon. Yep. What he did is he kept, and by the way, that story was written in the 1930s. Who do you think was doing that in the 1930s? Okay. 1930s, pre-Nazi Germany. So Ming the Merciless was having all the kingdoms of Mongo, the Lion Men and Prince Baron and the Hawkmen. He kept those kingdoms fighting amongst each other so they wouldn't know who the real threat was. The real threat was the totalitarian dictator, Ming the Merciless. That was a message. Now, I know it's I love the Sam Jones Flash Gordon movie. I think it's super fun. I even like the Filmation animated series, which is super fun. And, I watched the old Buster Crabbe Flash Gordon. That message is there. And that message is a message for today, because there are forces trying to keep us divided. So we don't actually look at the real problems facing us. And I think that we can solve real problems if we stop falling into these traps. There is a very famous Looney Tunes cartoon. My final recommendation, then I got to go. Go ahead. There's a very famous Looney Tunes cartoon. And by the way, this was a banned cartoon made by Looney Tunes. And it stars Foghorn. It stars Foghorn Leghorn, and it stars Daffy Duck and the dog. It was just the dog. They're on a farm together, And Daffy Duck is a salesman, and he's selling these Acme products. And he sells like this sort of prank product to the dog, and he sells this product to Foghorn Leghorn. And they're both fighting amongst each other, but they keep buying things from Daffy Duck. Like, I need a new thing. So they buy this from Daffy Duck, and then the dog buys something. And then Foghorn Leghorn buys something, until Foghorn Leghorn and the dog figure out, we got to get Daffy Duck as the person selling us, making us fight. And they team up and they get Daffy Duck at the end. Now, it's a really simple cartoon. It's cheesy. I mean, I love Looney Tunes. I was always a Looney Tunes guy. Disney cartoons were too milquetoast for me. They were just too, whatever. I liked Bugs Bunny. I liked the Looney Tunes stuff. That cartoon was banned. Why was that banned? Look it up. It's called The High and the Flighty. You can probably find it somewhere. There's a Wikipedia page for that cartoon. There's a very important message in that cartoon. Don't fall to all this politics of division that is rampant in our time. Don't hate people you don't know because of some weird trait about them that you think is different or whatever. It's like, you know what? I always had a very weird, diverse group of friends. It was all because we were nerds. That's why. We were just all like, oh, are you into comic books? I'm into comic books. Are you into building Aurora model kits? Cool. I'm into video games. Cool. I didn't give a fuck, about anyone's background. You're into nerdy stuff. I'm into nerdy stuff. Point of connection. So
just hate people because they suck. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and I don't know. I hope we can get back to that. Don't fall into that trap. It's really, so I hope I answered most of the stuff on the chat. I got to go, unfortunately. I feel really bad. I got to run.
I'll give you the floor. Anything else you want to throw up real quick?
Go to filmthreat.com, subscribe to the Film Threat YouTube channel. Thank you, Society Reviews, and thank you, everybody. Just thank you. And thank you for everyone in the chat. You've all been very kind. And I tried to answer as many questions as I saw, so there you go. And let's try to find ways we connect.
By the way, still got your Film Threat cup here.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go.
I need one of those.
Yes. We were all united because we all hated the Rise of Skywalker. What a terrible. And thank you very much, everybody. I got to run.
Take care, Chris. It was good talking to you.
Good talking to you.
Welcome to come back anytime. Thanks for joining us for your time, man. Definitely check out Attack the Doc. It's available right now. It's definitely worth a watch, especially if you love old school G4 stuff. Very informative. Check it out while you can. So,
gotcha.
And do me a favor, leave a review, whether it's on Amazon. I think you can rent it cheap. It was featured on the front page of Amazon, right next to
Rent. Review Bob this. That's a dirty pool.
But leave a review on Amazon or on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score is over 100 reviews, 99%. Please leave a review and check it out. It's cheap to rent. I made it so, and I made it. Look, I was a fan of the show. I made it for fans, and I made it with kind of the idea that let's remember when we used to celebrate things we loved, and we were maybe a little bit more united as a nerd community. Let's get back to that, because I don't remember any of this division years ago. I've been going to Comic-Con and conventions in general for years. I've never seen it like this. It's BS. Don't fall for it. And if you see people trying to divide others, call it out, and call out people who are hot phobic.
Yes, especially hot phobic. They are the worst.
That's a major problem facing our country.
Yes, shame the hot phobes.
Yes, if you see anyone complain about Bustus, kick them square in the nuts. That's what I said.
Yeah, if you don't like the Bustus sketch, you're a hot phobe. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
Chris.
I appreciate it.
Take it easy,
Take care. Bye.
All right, and then there was 4. That was great. Like I said, I'm glad that Chris got to join us here, talk about a lot of G4 stuff. So, like I said, go check out that documentary. And then, like I said, we also still have our retrospective on G4 Tech TV, which is still up on Rumble and on YouTube now. So you can also check that out. I think it was me, Cassie, TW, and I think Nerdigans is also on that one as well too. So couple of good things you guys can check out here. Well, we still got a little bit of time left, so I want to talk about some other things here before we wrap things up. So let's go ahead and talk about Ja Morant. So if you guys been following this story,
Start this. I have to pee, but yes, this is so stupid. Oh my gosh.
so if you guys completely forgot, Ja Morant was the NBA star for the was it the Memphis Grizzlies? Memphis. Nothing good ever comes out of Memphis, guys. If you ever have the chance, just stick to Nashville. There's nothing for you in Memphis. But this dude got in trouble again because a few months ago he was in a strip club blowing a whole bunch of money, and then he was posting videos of himself in the strip club with a gun. He got suspended for a handful of games, had to go to like sensitivity training. They did the whole sit down with what was his name from ESPN, the Fab Five guy. I can't remember his name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. They tried to do the whole rehab image with him. And it was like, okay, well, no, he's fine now. Well, the Memphis Grizzlies got bounced out of the playoffs a few weeks ago by the LA Lakers. They're out. So what does Ja Morant do? He decides, well, I'm going back on Instagram. I'm flashing guns again. So there was a video with him and his boys. So I think this is the video here. I think I'm gonna turn off the audio just so we don't have to worry about copyright strikes or anything like that. But this is the video here. Him and his boys are jamming in the car, and all of a sudden, this dude decides to pull out yet another pistol because why not? Why wouldn't you? You're a multi-millionaire NBA player. Yeah, so there he goes there, and his boy tries to save him by taking the gun off the screen because he already knows he's been in trouble for this before. But by then it was way too late. Everyone had saw it, and once again he's now in trouble. He's been suspended by the team. He's suspended indefinitely. They haven't exactly decided how long he's going to be out, but they're talking about making an example out of him now because he should have shirked this up months ago, and apparently he didn't. He's still out there trying to do the Tupac Shakur hit him up stuff and being a multi-millionaire NBA player. So here we are again. Cassie, I'll start this one out with you, basketball connoisseur. What do you think about Ja Morant once again getting himself into trouble for flashing guns on Instagram Live?
As someone that is a legal gun owner, legal gun owners that are responsible don't do this kind of stuff. I never take out my gun in public. I don't do any of that. That's either a thing that happens at home or when I go to a gun range. I hope to never, ever have to pull a gun out in public in any way because that would mean something serious is happening. I would prefer to never be in that situation. That's the whole, the grand hope of, being a responsible gun owner is in hopes of never actually having to go there and doing whatever you have to do to try and avoid that scenario from ever playing out. So while, I do have said protection, I never hope to have to be in a situation where it's tested. So like on this front, man, it's gross to see this type of behavior, especially from someone that is he's so privileged. Like he plays a kid's game and gets paid an insane amount of money for it. Yep. Why do you feel the need to act like you're tough with a gun? You're not tough with a gun. It's when what isn't it like shit in A Bronx Tale? Like Sonny says, you think you're tough with a gun? Well, what about when the other guy pulls his gun? Then what? And it's the truth, man. You're not tough just because you carry a gun. You're not tough because you pretend to act tough. That shit is all pretend. At the end of the day, enjoy your life, making your money and being able to spend that and living a good life playing a fucking a kid's game on a basketball court, man. You don't realize what you're potentially throwing away here. I don't understand how he doesn't see it. He's worked so hard to be where he is. You can't sit there and deny that. This dude has worked hard to be where he is. Don't fucking ruin it. Like that's the true shame of it all. Like you're ruining this great opportunity and your success. You're putting it at risk to look tough on the internet, man. That's not cool. That's really
as a famous lame. Man once said, you can't fix stupid.
Bad realities.
TW, what do you think about this whole story, man?
I mean, this isn't surprising to me. I see this with a lot of young brothers these days, man. It's like they want to prove something to a lot of these hood niggas out here. It's like they want to try to act tough, act hood, and all this. It's like, bro, you're not gangster. You don't need to be gangster. You are a successful NBA player. It's like, and this is the same thing that happens to these rappers too, that clearly don't. They want to say they live this lifestyle, but they don't, which you don't need to, because it's like.
And keep in mind, this is a guy who's come from. He has both parents, came from a pretty middle class like upbringing. Like he's not anything close to hood whatsoever. Like everyone wants to be Tupac from Hit 'Em Up. You know what happened to the Tupac when he released Hit 'Em Up? He got shot. He died.
Exactly. That's the best example of why doing that is stupid, because Tupac was an intellectual. Tupac was like a revolutionary. And because he hung around Suge and all them other death row niggas, like he got popped.
Snoop.
It's like you don't need to do that, bro. You really don't. And it's crazy. We see this with a lot of these, and yeah, it sucks that we see this with a lot of these guys, and people actually glorify this, like, oh, he doesn't live his lifestyle. He doesn't need to. Ice Cube is the best example of that. He rapped about all this gangster shit, never did any of it. Never did any of it. He was never a gangster, anything like that, but he rapped about that stuff and had a pretty fruitful career from it.
Yeah,
and then he was in Are We There Yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Ruined his whole cred. Yeah.
And Are We There Yet too?
I don't even feel like that's the most embarrassing role.
It's probably not. It's just the one that, like, that was the moment when I went, is that fucking Ice Cube? Like, that was the moment where I was just like, what the hell happened to him? Like, it's the one that, like, sticks in my mind.
Yeah, that was that weird time where it's like, okay, I'm gonna start doing family-friendly movies because I just finished the Up in Smoke tour, so I might as well start doing Disney-related content now. So, no, stop.
Weird time.
It goes to show that anyone can change, right? And we definitely would like for this individual to stop this and change, man, for the better before you throw everything you have in the trash.
I mean, he's trying so hard to be Tupac until he ends up going out like Tupac. Like I said, it is Memphis. It's already bad enough as it is.
Yes,
like, you probably shouldn't be taking any chances when you're living in a city like that. Like, when we were talking about, like, Oakland earlier, because, like, the A's, no one's going to A's games. It's like, yeah, it's Oakland. It's basically San Francisco with more crime. That's pretty much what Oakland has become these days. It's like, dude, you got to stop playing around with some of these cities here, because it's like you mentioned, like back in like the 90s, you had guys that would do like the gangster rap lyrics, but they wouldn't live that lifestyle. Now I think there's been a big shift that's happened over the last few years, where now you have these rappers who are actual criminals, but now they're just getting into rap. So now they're talking about drugs and gangs, and now you got people on RICO charges currently right now in trial because all the stuff they put in their lyrics. We've gotten to the point now where you got people like Jay-Z trying to pass quote unquote First Amendment laws so that rappers don't go to jail when they snitch on themselves in their songs. It's like, look, confessing to a crime in a rap lyric is not the First Amendment. You can't just say, oh yeah, I murdered 6 people in a song and be like, what about my First Amendment rights? It's like, no, dumbass. That's not how it works.
You threw all that away when you talked about like busting up on a dude. Like, no, dude.
Yeah, I mean, oh my god, I have to find that video real quick. But Spencer, what do you think about this whole story?
I mean, everybody pretty much hit it. Why? Like, I don't understand why Ja Morant, a freaking like big name NBA player who people know, like he's one of the few. Like, you could ask a normie, like, hey, do you know Ja Morant? And somebody will probably be like, I feel like I know him. Like, basketball, baseball, like people know him, and he's going out and doing this stupid shit. Like, I like to imagine that in the video, because the second the piece comes out, the dude like his friend turns his phone away. I like to believe that's his friend going, "Are you retarded? Like, what are you doing right now?" Because it's just it makes no sense to do. It's all. Again, it's all role playing until something actually happens, and then woohoo!
like I said, it's all fun and games. So there's gonna be some slow swinging and foul bringing afterwards. They're gonna treat him like Biggie Smalls.
It's crazy how his friend.
This is actually like some of the white kids that would like try to be all street, try to be all hood, try to be black.
Very much like that.
Up until like it's like. It's basically cool to be black up until the cops show up. And that's basically like It's like everybody won't be black till the cops show up. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, it reminds me of this. It's a hilarious video, by the way.
Yesterday at 3 o'clock, I shot Tony with a Glock. His body still laying there. Yeah, I did it. I don't care. Today I killed another guy. Put a bullet in his eyes. I shot the man in broad day. I still live on Broadway. I shot Michael in the back. The gun is in my Cadillac. I'm posted on the back block. I'm still selling crack rock. Today I caught another body. Had to shoot him with the Tommy. Left the man in critical. I dumped him in the river too. Yesterday at midnight, I got into a big fight. I killed Mike. I shot my gun. I'm waiting for the cops to come. I committed 2 crimes. I shot Tommy 2 times. First I let the trigger spray. Then I made my getaway. Johnny tried to act hard, I killed him in his backyard. Then I murdered Julio, now I'm at the studio. David tried to grab his gun, I shot him twice, I had to run. My middle finger to the cops, I'm still posted on the block. Mikey tried to set it off, I grabbed my gun, I let it off. I shot him cause I needed it, laughed about it, then tweeted it.
Oh my God,
I had to let the gat blast his body in my Pontiac, the crib where you can find me at.
It's hilarious.
That's all these songs now.
Yeah, that's literally like 90% of rap songs these days. It's like rap was a mistake.
Not even being
like this is the.
That's literally just like go to any of these songs now. It's like dead ass.
Look, guys, he's just the modern day son of Sam. Okay, that dude had the balls to tell it right to the fucking gods.
Oh man. So yeah, this idiot is probably going to get himself suspended for a large portion of the season.
He was never a thug.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. But yeah, he's a moron. But jumping to another basketball story here real quick. So what was it, Nikola Jokić, who's playing a game right now. The Lakers are playing the Nuggets right now. I think the Nuggets are up by 12 in the fourth quarter. Now, I feel like this guy got completely robbed out of his MVP that he should have won this year. Because essentially what happened was that it was like a few months ago, they looked at his numbers. Everyone thought that he was going to be the runaway to win MVP again. But Kendrick Perkins kind of led a hate campaign against the guy because he was trying to imply that the only reason why he would be up for his 3rd straight MVP is because he's white. He made it all about Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash, and basically implying that the voters were only going to give him his 3rd MVP because he's white. Now, the argument was like, oh, he's great in the regular season, but he doesn't have a ring. So who did they decided to push? Joel Embiid, who hasn't won a championship either. Matter of fact, he's never even made it to a conference final, right? But because people felt guilty and they won't be labeled a racist for giving the white guy his 3rd straight MVP, they gave it to Joel, and guess what happened? He just got bounced out of the 2nd round again, and now Jokić is currently playing a game against the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. And here's his stats here for the night so far.
Jokić? Are you kidding me? Like, that's such a stupid...
Here's his stats so far for tonight's game. He has 31 points. He has 20 rebounds and 12 assists. And there's still 8 minutes left to go in the game. It's so obvious that this guy is one of the best players in the league right now. He probably should have won his 3rd straight MVP. But like I said, they didn't want to. I want to be racist by giving the white guy in this black NBA league another MVP. Well, it's like if his numbers support it, why not give it to him? So I think we're going to be in a situation here where we may have another, like, remember when the Braves lost the All-Star game a couple of years ago because the whole Biden thing? It was like, oh, they're stopping black people from voting in Georgia, which was never true to begin with. And then as an FU, the Braves won the World Series that year. I think the perfect FU to this whole thing is that if Jokić actually wins the NBA title this year after everything that's been thrown at him, because he should have won his 3rd straight MVP. But what do you think of this whole story that the guy's playing teams up right now, possibly going to win an NBA title, and they robbed him of an MVP because he's white?
The fact that, generally speaking, unfortunately, whether you win awards or not is now takes into account the color of your skin. That in itself is depressing. It's just, this is why I don't watch basketball anymore. A big thing that kind of made me feel sort of at home with having moved from New York to Pennsylvania was watching the Sixers. And when I started watching the Sixers at the time, they were like an up and coming like underdog team.
Yeah.
And I watched them for about 3 years, and they were getting close, but they never quite hit it. Now I just don't keep up with basketball at all. It's overly politicized. It's you're destroying any integrity you have as a league. And the fact that we have to have a discussion just based upon individuals' race on whether they deserve the awards that they're given, that in itself just defeats the purpose. We, ideally you award excellence and who has the best stats, who is the most clutch. That's really the things that need to be the focal point. And the fact that you're comparing two people based upon, well, one's white and one's black. And you know what, Joel Embiid, I think, is a great player from when I watched him back in his younger days. I mean, obviously he had like knee issues for a while. I haven't kept up with him personally, but it seems like he's still a relatively decent player, even if the Sixers can't win a fucking championship. But hey, that's just the luck of the draw sometimes. We have some of the greatest of all time that don't have a ring in any professional sports, if it be basketball, into MLB, all these sports, and that's an unfortunate thing.
Sure, Michael Jordan literally stole a championship from like every great player in the 1990s. Like there's several who never won a ring because of him.
Look at Patrick Ewing, dude is one of the greatest centers ever. Doesn't have a ring.
Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley. God, there's another one in there as well. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of guys in that whole time period that got screwed over because of Jordan. Stockton.
Yeah, it is what it is. And despite that, I would like, it doesn't matter what their race is, even if they don't have a ring, I would ideally like for them to be recognized as being one of the best, because there's so many of those that don't have a ring and they genuinely are great. They have great contributions to the sport, the respective sports that they're involved in. And the fact that it's being, politicized, who can win awards just upon race. We've pretty much lost the plot here, sadly. So.
Yeah, it's all funny. Like the NBA is already like politically like the worst league out of the four. Even though the NFL seems to be trying to like fight them neck and neck for that title, the NBA is just finds their way to be just worse every single year. And it's like I literally just watched an ESPN reporter lead a campaign against a guy who deservedly should have won his third straight MVP, because we can't have white people being recognized as great players in this NBA. But as they've been saying for years, like if you look at the style of basketball now, the one where we don't play any defense, everyone just shoots jumpers and stuff like that. That style of basketball plays well for a lot of these guys who come from overseas in Europe. So all these European players are now coming to the NBA. They're becoming the best players in the league because the style has changed so much that it actually helps them more than it helps homegrown players. And all I have to say to that is, well, whose fault was that? Steph Curry? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's literally a neck and neck between the NBA and the NFL about who's the woker at this point. So. But yeah, I just want to go on a little side rant about that one. Like I said, I think the Lakers are still down by like 14 points right now. So yeah, good. I hope they lose.
Yes,
I can't stand the Lakers.
Done with them.
The NBA or Bud Light? No, the NBA, because the NBA's been bad for years. Bud Light's been bad for like a month. So it's the NBA for a while. All right, well, we're going to go on to our final story here, and I don't even know what to say about this whole thing now, because every time I talk about this story, the story changes again. So this story has changed like 3 times since I decided to talk about it today. So let's kind of rewind you all the way back to figure out how we got to this point. Jamie Foxx, about 2 months ago, maybe he suffered a stroke, maybe he suffered a heart attack. No one knows. We never figured out why, but he suffered a medical complication, or as I like to call it, a coincidence. And then he was in the hospital. He's been in the hospital for a while. People were all like, hey, prayers for Jamie Foxx. He's in rough shape. He's going to have a rough recovery and everything. Then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, well, he's doing better. He's tweeting and he'll be on his way up. Then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, well, prayers for Jamie. It looks really bad. Then the next thing you know, it's, oh, well, the family are preparing for the worst as his health declines. And it's like, well, you just said he was okay. Then his daughter comes out of nowhere and says that, oh, by the way, my dad's been out of the hospital for weeks. I can shame on you, the media, for making it seem like that he was dying. And it's like, well, if he was out of the hospital 3 weeks ago, why didn't nobody say anything if that was the case, right? So then right after that, the day after that announcement was made, it's like, oh, Jamie Foxx and his daughter is going to be hosting a new show coming out on Fox later this year. And now all of a sudden, Sherry Shepherd is on with the rap talking about, prayers for Jamie Foxx. He still has a lot more to do. It's like, what's going on here? Is he okay or is he not? It's like you change the story every hour. And we still don't know exactly if he was a heart attack or a stroke. Like I said, the rumors online said it was a stroke, but that never got confirmed by anyone. So we can only take it as face value that it was a stroke. But it's like literally every single hour, the news on Jamie Foxx changes. We don't know if he's alive, dead, playing pickleball. I don't know if they're reading him his last rites. Nobody knows what's going on here. But
it's like if the dude is moving around and shit, like, can he at least make a quick video and like, yo, hey, I'm doing better than, what I had been. Like at least, say, thanks for the concern, but, don't worry about me. Like, can we just get something like that? So at least like, people's questions are answered. And it's like to bitch that this is a story that continues. The quickest way to stop this is simply to address it with Jamie himself. If he's capable of doing so, which, at least his daughter makes it sound like he's more than capable of at least saying, hey, appreciate the concerns. I'm doing a lot better. Still got some way to go, but we gonna get there. Like, it's really that simple. All it takes is 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's like, and then they try to like attack, people talking about the story, like, oh, you guys, you conspiracy theorists out there trying to. It's like when you change the story 7 times in 1 hour, the people are going to have some questions. Like, don't blame the people asking questions when you can't give people a straight answer to what the hell's actually going on.
And honestly, I wholeheartedly believe that everybody, including celebrities, should be able to keep their medical information private. You don't have to talk about your medical situation. You could just simply address that you're doing okay, you're alive, and keep it moving. It's really that simple.
It's like when Jeremy Renner got run over by a snowmobile a few months ago. He was in the hospital. He was like tweeting pictures of himself in the hospital bed, all mangled up and stuff. It's like we haven't seen or heard one thing from Jamie Foxx since this whole thing has started. They're like, dude, what the hell is even going on here? So, I don't know. This, like I said, by the time we're done with this video, this story is going to change another 7 times.
It's
by the
probably
time we get
not even the same right now. Like before the sentence even over.
Your example of don't believe everything you hear on the internet. 'Cause, I mean, dude, all the commercials and like Instagram like posts and all that I've seen of Jamie Foxx, I'm like, this brother's in great shape. Like, what are y'all talking about? He looks all right to me.
But that's the thing, like, because we can't get a straight answer, like, they're still calling it a medical complication. So it's like what exactly does that mean? Like, did he have like a stroke, a heart attack? Did he have like appendicitis? It's like, what kind of medical complication are we talking about here? So it's like, yeah, we don't know if it was like heart related, liver related, lungs. Like, we literally have no idea. All we know is that we have to keep praying for him, even though he's doing well, even though he's not dead, but he's probably going to die. But it's
nobody knows. Like, nobody knows how he is. Like,
yeah.
That's the main thing. I think that would, you don't like I said, you don't have to provide your medical history. That's not really our business unless you choose to make it your business. And I don't think that he should personally make it everyone else's business. But just let people know that I'm doing, I'm here. I'm not perfect, but we're working. Like, that's the important thing. If you want the rumors to subside, like, how can you be upset about rumors when people know that you suffered some form of medical complication and you've been hospitalized and you don't give any form of relief from this situation? There's no relief. It's, well, we're going to blame everyone for wondering what the fuck happened to Jamie Foxx. And it's like, if you choose not to provide any form of, I don't know what the best way to put it is, but
update.
To lay everyone's worries or concerns or thoughts to rest, if you don't provide that, then what do you expect? If you choose not to, the thing to really put in, to really vocalize here is that they're not choosing to control the narrative. They're choosing not to control the narrative and then blaming everyone else for it. And that's your own fault.
I mean, if he really got released several weeks ago, which is what his daughter is saying, how hard is it just to say, hey, my dad's out of the hospital, still has a long way to go, but he looks like he's on the road to recovery. Thanks for all the thoughts and prayers. We could have moved on from this story 4 weeks ago if that was the case. It's like, why didn't you just say that then instead of like having people who were close to him? Like, it wasn't just like average Joes. You had like Nick Cannon and Kevin Hart and all these people talking about, hey, prayers for Jamie, man. It looks pretty bad. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, there's families preparing for the worst. I was like, no, he's been out of the hospital for weeks. It's like, why is everybody else saying prayers for Jamie then? It's like,
it feels like Weekend at Bernie's, like to an extent. Like, look, my dad's fine, and these are photos from like months ago, right? And then let the time pass, and in 4 months you can go, by the way, now he passed, and that was a normal amount of time. I don't know, man.
And I guess an example that I do sadly like to use is in regards to Bruce Lee when he died. The big reason why his family didn't want to put it out there, like what happened to him, is specifically because he dropped dead at his mistress's home. So, like, with that, instead of just putting the truth out there and saying, like, yeah, well, they chose not to do that, which created all these, like, fake stories that, oh, the triad got him and all this shit. Like, these stories still fucking, like, circle to this day. And it's all because, well, they didn't want to put it out there that he was with his mistress at the time that shit happened. And it's just like, well, you just fucked it up because you just didn't want to be honest.
These people don't know how to lie. This is the problem. You know what makes a good liar? You lie about, you make it seem very small. That way people don't question it. Like when people ask you, why were you late for work? The traffic on I-9 was really bad. Took me a while to get here. But when you start saying, oh yeah, I got shot, then I have to like run down a bank robber, and then the next thing you know, the car exploded, and the Power Rangers came out of nowhere. And it's like, okay, now it makes it seem like you're just making the whole thing up, right? Like, keep the lie simple. That way nobody questions it. When you have to change your story 700 times, people are going to know you're lying, you moron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any final thoughts on this one? We can go ahead and wrap this show up.
Nah.
Weekend at Jamie is like...
I mean, wishing the best for Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
If you want the rumors to subside, simply address the elephant in the room, and that way we can move on. And like I said, hopefully he's good. Obviously, I don't wish bad on anybody, but the way that the family seems to be coming at this just seems unwarranted.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, you're the ones keeping this whole thing a secret in the first place. You could have just put out some statement a while ago that would have let everyone move on with their lives. So it's like you can't try to like keep it a secret and then get mad that people are asking questions. It's like you could have given someone a bullshit statement a while ago and ended this whole thing. So. But yeah, it is what it is. So prayers for Jamie, question mark. That's the best that I can say right now, because apparently he's playing pickleball. Now he's about to do a new show on Fox, so maybe he's fine. So I don't know. But look, we had a great show here tonight. Chris Gore was amazing to talk to him about some G4 related stuff. Like I said, go check out that documentary. Go check out Film Threat. Yeah, great guy. Hopefully we can have him back here in the near future. And then of course I gotta thank you guys for showing up here. So I'll give you guys the floor to promote your stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this guy right here, TW. What you got coming up?
Well, tomorrow I just got my new series that I'm introducing. It's called Pros and Cons, where I basically, it's like a top 10 list, but I kind of do like the 5 good and 5 worst aspects of somebody. And I couldn't think of a better person to do that on than none other than, rather you sons of bitch marks like it or not, the WWE chairman, the guy who's still in charge of WWE, Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I hear they're giving Ali a big match at Saudi Arabia, and I was like, yeah, please, Vince.
Yeah, after Night of Champions, I'm done watching Raw. Fuck that shit.
I mean, I haven't tuned in since Mania, but from everything I've seen, I haven't really missed much. Like, the only thing they brought out was like Bad Bunny. It's like, yeah, you can miss me with Bad Bunny. I don't give a shit about that guy. Cassie, what you got coming up?
Bro, Carlito, man. Puerto Rican power, bro.
Mm-hmm. the only pop he's ever gotten in his life, and it had to be in Puerto Rico. Just throw it out.
Of course, man. I mean, look, to be fair, in regards to WWE, is there really any hype anymore? So to actually see genuine hype for the first time in like how long? It was cool, even though it's kind of rigged, obviously. But hey, what are you gonna do? In regards to what I got going on, I mean, I'm currently fighting the LGBT mafia, and at this point, it's not even fighting. I'm just getting under the skin and just watching the insanity. you know, the insanity play itself out pretty much. I constantly say, anybody that's friends with me or that's cool with me, please don't involve yourself in it. It's completely fine. I have complete control over it. I'm just letting these people circle their own wagons while I'm not even present. So that's the thing. So I you know, obviously appreciate everyone that has, you know, messaged me like, yo, everything cool. Like, I really do appreciate that. But just let it be what it is. I'm not bothered by how they're acting. But in regards to what I got going on, well, who knows? I might make another Zelda Link video, but for fact, this Thursday I will definitely be doing a live stream, just going over some gaming news and probably talking more about this whole nonsense because it's kind of become bigger than what I thought it'd be. So yeah, definitely tune in for that and appreciate everybody. It was a good time. Chris Gore was awesome.
All right, then Spencer, what you got coming up?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be here on stream and not just in the chat. Chris Gore, that I knew that was gonna happen. I knew it.
I literally thought it was over. I thought that was my shit.
I was waiting. I knew it. It was coming. Chris Gore, thanks for stopping by. Society Reviews. Check him out Mondays, Tuesdays, every night on everybody's stream. He's everywhere. Rebounding into comics every day. Check out Cassie, the queen of the tomboys. Check out TW, the comfiest man on the internet. Now hit the outro.
Right.
Well, no, I got to promote my stuff first. So yeah.
No.
Yeah, so tomorrow night I'll be back on the Black Pill stream with Spencer, John, Josh, and hopefully we won't be talking about Elon Musk for 7 hours like last week. But yeah, we were talking about some things going on.
Notice me, senpai.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we were talking about some stories going on. There's like 2 stories that I'm completely backed up on that I need to catch up on. Not only have to do 2 bounding stories, there's like at least maybe 8, maybe 9 movie reviews that I'm also backed up on too. So yeah, I'm kind of in a rut. I gotta pick up the pace here in the next week or so. So I'm gonna be busy doing that. Friday night we're gonna have our movie night on Twitch and our Rumble. We're watching Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor this week. So definitely check us out this Friday night if you want to enjoy movie night. And then this Monday night is gonna be me, Rob, and Rick, and we're going to suffer through Fast 10. This is the 10th Fast and Furious movie now. And at this point, there's nothing else to say about this series. It's like everyone knows it's dumb. Like everyone figured that out. Like after Tokyo Drift, we're just still here. So we'll review that movie next week. So that'll be an experience for all of us. And look, there's been so many people throughout the course of the night who've joined us all. So I'm just going to try to find as many names as I possibly can here. So Mephisto, who's here with us, Zero Dozer, Alex and Evil, Duke Nukem, Rich Slagward, who's there, Words of Paradise. Copa was here a little bit earlier. I know he joined us. I mean, who else do I have on here? Juxtapose, who was here.
JC.
Oh yeah, if you want to help me out here, find these names too, that'd be great. Doba Fett, I think I already said Doba Fett. Just name. Who else was here? Jinpai, who was here throughout the entire night. Hypno, Neo. Give a shout out to Neo.
Words of Paradise.
Christopher Dominguez, Casey, who was here earlier tonight. Tom Connor from Midnight, who was here with us. I'm trying to
Mephisto's movie reviews.
Yes,
yeah,
Mephisto.
Mephisto. I just call him Mephisto. It's just easier. Film Rebel, who was here. Philangelist, who was here. Atreus, who was here. Sauce Boss, who was joining us over on Twitch. I got a couple people on Rumble too. Yeah, so for everyone who joined us here tonight, if I didn't get you, Orange Hat was in the chat with us earlier tonight. Paulie Latino Slant was here a little bit as well. So if I did miss you guys, thanks for joining us for another week. Yeah, don't even get me started on this movie. You already know that it's going to be a rough week. Yeah, thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next week for episode 49 of the Barroom Podcast. But now we're going to hit the outro for real this time. So adios, goodbye, see you later. See you next week.